This is the Ceylon stitch. I'm going to be stitching it right here in this leaf shape. And it starts with, one way that you can start it is with a little row of foundation stitches. So I'm just working a row of stitches over the top part of the leaf here. I'm working it from left to right. I'm using a tapestry needle for this stitch because it's a woven stitch. And I'm probably going to add 2 more. Okay. So now I'm going to bring my thread up by my first stitch along the bottom of the leaf shape. And now this row of stitches is all going to be worked above the fabric. So I'm just going to take my needle under that stitch and pull through. I don't want to make these stitches super tight, but not super loose either. You want to see those little loops. And this stitch, as you're working it, your thread wants to, it's just twisting a lot, so you might have to work out little twists in your thread or make little adjustments after you do a little stitch. Okay, one more, and then I'm going to take my needle and thread down and go back to the beginning of the row again. Okay. And I'm just going to start back here. So now instead of going under each of these foundation stitches like I just did, I'm going to be going under the little loop that I had just made. So I'm making the same movement, I'm just going under the new row that you've just created. And again, because this is a woven stitch, as you're stitching it, you can see that these little stitches want to like stand up because they're not connected to the fabric yet. That's the only tricky thing. Holding your thread down here gives it some tension, which can prevent that a little bit, but it is something you just have to work through as you're stitching this stitch. And then at the very end you can anchor that to the fabric. And then this one was a little funky, so I just have to find that loop. And then take it down. And then the rest of this leaf, I'm going to work this same exact way. You can see I'm going to start again with this row, and again you see all of these little stitches are because they're not connected completely. They want to move all around. So it's just a stitch you have to be patient with. The end result is a really cool woven looking stitch. So I think it's worth some of the frustrations that you have to work through as you're stitching it. You could use a thicker thread. I'm using a size 5 Eleganza pearl cotton. So I could go a little thicker. And actually, you know what? I'm going to start reducing this stitch because I have the leaf shape that I'm working with right here. So it's kind of like some of the other stitches where you have to decide when to reduce them to make the shape that you're trying to create. And so that's just something that as you're working, you just decide when it's best for the shape that you're trying to fill. This would work well if you're trying to fill in a square shape. In fact, you might even want to begin with like a square or rectangle shape so that you don't have to right away start thinking about reducing threads and so then I'm going to pull that down here. Okay, so I'm running out of thread here, but the rest of my leaf is going to be worked the same exact way. I'll probably get another 2 rows in here, and then I'll have my leaf shape. I can go around it in a back stitch if I want. I could leave it open like this. I could add beads, which I've done into these little sections here. So that's the Ceylon stitch.